to Meanwhile at the Castle, podcast episode 1. My name is Deborah Raymond, and this is my first time doing any type of a podcast, so I'm really excited to get started. I want to introduce myself first. I am a wife to just the most amazing man, and I have 3 daughters. My oldest is 16 in less than 2 weeks. My middle daughter will be 13 really soon, and my youngest daughter is 9. All girls. I just know God loves me because he sent me all girls. I don't know what to do with boys, so I'm just loving being a mother. We homeschool. We've done that for about 9 years, and I primarily follow the TJ Ed principles. That is Thomas Jefferson education. Let's see. I'm a Christian. I'm unashamedly Christian, and so I will talk about God, so be prepared. Be prepared for that, and I love to just have a conversation with anybody, anytime, about just religious beliefs and how God blesses us. So I will include that. My focus in life is to try to strengthen my relationship with God and help others to do the same. I feel like God's blessed me in my life with many talents, creative talents, and I use those to try to draw closer to Him, but specifically through creating beauty, by participating in creation. I find that I can get closer to God that way. So the name of this podcast is Meanwhile at the Castle, and why do I call it that? Well, my sister and I, we have a blog called Meanwhile at the Castle, and we have some interesting stories that go behind that. So I am the queen of an imaginary country. It's called Christathel. The name Christathel means beautiful followers of Christ. I do this through a community-based organization that I began about 4 years ago, called Crowned with Virtue, and we have a mentoring program for youth. We have clubs that we run, a new scholar program that we are launching this year. So, being the queen of an imaginary country, we use medieval simulations in the summer, where we help mentor and strengthen the youth of the community. My focus is with the girls. I have 3 daughters, so this is a perfect avenue for me. But my focus is to inspire girls and women to be courageous defenders of virtue and home and the family. My sister, her name is Emily, and she is also the queen of an imaginary country because that wasn't crazy enough to have one. I actually followed after her footsteps. She's been doing this for far longer than I have. Her country is called Terra Libra. Terra Libra means land of the free. I hope I got that right, Emily. Don't kill me if I didn't. But she does this through her organization called Mastering Knighthood. And her focus is on the young boys. So they call them knights, where she strives to raise young men. I have to write this down because this is her organization, not mine. Young men in the knightly virtues to be bold defenders of freedom. So she and I work together in our efforts. She also has a medieval simulation in the summer. She has clubs for boys, youth mentoring programs. So combined, we're Heroic Youth. So you can find us on heroicyouth.com. And so with medieval simulations and being queens, we often talk about castles, and so this was a great outlet to have this website. We're also the queen of our homes, and so we desire that our homes are a place of refuge in the storms that are in the world all around us, and we want our homes to be a comfort to our family and friends. And I always want visitors to come and to stay. So I try to make my home as comfortable and inviting as I can. I really like to just feel a really good spirit in my home. And so Meanwhile at the Castle was born, where we could share some of the ways that we do that. And honestly, we haven't done much with our website because we just have a lot going on. So when we have 2 minutes, sometimes we put something up there. But I thought this would be a great outlet for me. Why start a podcast? There are so many out there already. I'd just be one in thousands. But I saw a podcast recently that Emily introduced me to, and I've seen others as well that I've really liked, but there is this woman from Little Bobbin's Knits, and she is the sweetest lady. And her first podcast, she was so nervous, and that's how I'm feeling right now, just terrified. And I thought, if she can do it, I can do it. I've been thinking about doing a podcast for a long time, and I keep chickening out. I figure this is the time. I might as well do it. If she can do it, I can do it. But I'm really doing this mostly for myself and for my family. I feel that this is a good way for my children to see me in a different light, to have some history. I just think about my mother. If she had done something like this, well, there was no avenue for her to do anything like this. She wrote in her journals and things, but it would have been so nice for my mother and my grandmothers if I had had some sort of access to their living history. And so hopefully this is a way that they can find maybe some inspiration that way. Anyways, hopefully this will also just be a therapeutic outlet for me, somewhere to talk. Talking to an empty room, probably. If nobody is watching, that's okay. I've done crazier things. So what do I plan to include in my podcasts? I've thought about it. I have so many interests that are so varied that it was hard to narrow it down. And I didn't want to do just a knitting podcast or a sewing or one about literature, or I love so many things that I have narrowed it down the best I can. But I thought I'd include some weekly inspiration from scriptures, quotes, experiences from my life, just wherever I've found inspiration. What is inspiring me this week? I thought I'd give you a peek into some of the things that I make. I have a vast quantity of interests, so I have a vast quantity of things that I'm making, and maybe share some of the things that I have made. Also, I thought I'd include, snippets from my past, like ways that I've learned from people, some of the talents and hobbies, the skills that I have, experiences in my life that have helped to shape me into the person I am right now. So let's see. No, I also thought, we should throw in some things that are not related to that at all, just some random musings that I thought I should throw in for good measure. I have some things planned out for at least, 10 podcasts, so we'll see if I can feel inspired enough by this to keep going. I have some material to keep going. So let's just go ahead and jump into the very beginning to the weekly inspiration. I talked about what the meaning of Meanwhile at the Castle was, but a little bit to go along with that was a quote by C.S. Lewis. I love C.S. Lewis. Everything he writes, he's brilliant. His book, Mere Christianity, was wonderful. There's a quote in there that I won't have to read this, and it goes along with the name of our website and this podcast. Imagine yourself living as a house. God comes in to rebuild that house. At first, perhaps you can understand what he is doing. He is getting the drains right and stopping the leaks in the roof and so on. You knew that these jobs needed doing, and so you were not surprised. But presently he starts knocking the house about in a way that hurts abominably and does not seem to make any sense. What on earth is he up to? The explanation is that he is building quite a different house from the one you thought of. Throwing out a new wing here, putting on an extra floor there, running up towers, making courtyards. You thought you were being made into a decent little cottage, but he is building a palace. He intends to come and live in it himself. This is just a beautiful thought because it is painful when God pushes out these walls and stretches us in ways that we had not planned or prepared for always. And I often have dreams and goals that I'm always striving for, and sometimes God says, stop, hold on, that's not the plan. We're going to stretch you over here, and I'm going to throw an experience in your life over here that's going to be painful and hard, but it's going to ultimately make you into this beautiful castle, as opposed to the little cottage that I began as. And I love that quote. So if any of you are C.S. Lewis fans, I would love to hear about it. Could never talk enough about C.S. Lewis. I just finished recently reading The Last Battle. Last Battle? Might be the final battle from the Chronicles of Narnia series. He is so brilliant. I just finished the entire series and I want to start it again. I've been reading it out loud with my girls, and the last book we just finished was The Silver Chair. That one was kind of odd. It was a little bit harder to get into that one, but there's so much symbolism. I love it. So anyways, on to projects. I have a lot, I told you, so I'll try to keep it down to a minimum right now. So right now, I got in the mail several things. Let's see. I have been making Waldorf dolls. I guess I should say Waldorf-inspired dolls because I don't stick to the process 100%. I do some needle felting on the faces and anyways, but Waldorf dolls are made with all natural based materials, and so the inside of them is stuffed with this wool. It is so soft. I love this. I have never actually used pure wool for stuffing a doll in all the years I've been making dolls, and I'm just really loving it. I loved it so much that I even went to a farm a couple of weeks ago in St. George, Utah, and they were a sheep farm, and they had so much wool they didn't even know what to do with it. And I thought, I know what to do with it. I have this brilliant idea. I'm going to take some of it home, and I've watched a million videos on cleaning and picking and carding wool that I thought I can do this. So I took like 10 pounds of it, and I thought, well, I'll just start with that and see how it goes. And I just used a little handful of it and soaked it and cleaned it several times. It smelled like the zoo. It was horrible. And after hours and hours and hours of work and picking it, I ended up with this much wool. Now, mind you, I didn't do all 10 pounds because I thought I don't want to do that much work to not have it worth it. And in the end, there was so much vegetable matter in it that I just couldn't get it all cleaned out. And the hairs, the way it was cut, they're not focused on using the fibers from the wool. They're primarily, I think, a meat farm. But, I mean, this type of wool would work for it. It just wasn't cut right. So they're all short hairs. They're all second cuts, or at least where I could get to it the way they had it packed. So it was pointless. I couldn't really even card it to do much with it. But it was an experiment. I like to experiment because you never know if you can do something unless you've tried. I may try again if I find a better source for that. But, so I purchased, let's see, on Etsy, Reggie's Dolls. I purchased supplies to make my first Waldorf doll a month or two ago, and it was so much fun. So there's this knit fabric that's 100% cotton, and I believe it's from Germany. I can't remember the name of it, but it is so nice to work with. I love it. It's such a nice quality. So I ordered some more after making a couple of dolls. I wanted to get some more shades. I want to get more fabric in different shades so I can have a variety of dolls with different skin colors, because not everybody is pale like me. But the products are just so wonderful that I was excited to get more in the mail. So I finally got enough that I can make some more. And I was just really happy that my first experiment and second experiment and a few worked so well, because these are pricey to make, and I was so nervous that I was going to destroy my first doll and then give up from there after, but it worked really well. So let's see, along with that, to make the dolls, you use different types of materials for the hairs. Yarn, you can use different locks from different sheep, but I'd see all of these yarns. I think they are so beautiful and they are so pricey that I'll never be able to afford to do this, you know, on my first or second or third doll, which led me to want to try spinning my own. Well, I haven't tried spinning yet, but I did try dyeing my own yarn this week. So I have some wool that is from Knit Picks. Actually, it's from Knit Picks, but my sister Emily gave it to me with the stipulation that if I were to be successful in this, that she would give me the wool in exchange for me dyeing hers, the yarn. So I thought that was a pretty good trade, because I really want to dye more yarn. I'm just really excited. So I just divided up, she gave me a few skeins. I thought I'd divide a few up into some mini skeins because I didn't want to destroy an entire skein my first time. And I didn't have any professional dyes when I did this, so I thought, well, I'm going to try the Kool-Aid dyes. It went so well. This is the cutest mini skein of yarn. I already knit up a little swatch. I undid it because I'm getting ready to make something with this, but it is adorable. I love this, and I love the Kool-Aid. I was quite surprised at it. The only question I have is, will it bleed into the rest of the surrounding yarns, the surrounding fibers, because Emily did it before and it did bleed. Now it depends. Did it have enough acid in the dye? Was it the dye fully exhausted before she rinsed it? I don't know. I have no idea. So it's all an experiment. So this was my very first mini skein that I did with Kool-Aid. Then I tried a different one. Let's see, this one was hand painted. And then the second one I did in a pot with Kool-Aid, the exact same colors, and I did it in a pot of water. The first one was done in microwave. This one was set in the pot in water. And I love how this one turned out. I'm just so surprised at how pretty they are. This is worsted weight yarn, and I want to get some finer weight, some sock yarn, some DK to try. Then I did an experiment that I saw. I love, I think it's ChemKnits. There's some tutorials online, and she was showing about dyeing a cake of yarn, where you just submerge the whole thing and just let it sit, and it absorbs at different rates. And so I thought I'd try that. And she used grape Kool-Aid, I think. Actually, she may have used the Easter egg dye pellets, but I tried grape Kool-Aid, but I wasn't super excited about the grape color that you'd get from it, so I added a little bit of strawberry Kool-Aid to it, and I like this color even less. But the process was really interesting. I really liked the process because the very bottom of the cake was really dark, and then as it got up higher, it was less saturated, and the farther in you went in the skein, the less saturated it was. So we had so many varied colors from one cake of yarn that it was really pretty. And so all the way on one end of the skein, it's really dark with some light flecks throughout it, and then as you get all the way to the other end, it's quite light with some dark flecks throughout it. So I'm interested to see how this will knit, what it will look like, but I'm not really excited about the colors, so I guess I'm not as excited to knit it. But that's the other thing, I've started knitting recently. I began when I was, I can't remember, maybe 13 years old, knitting with my Aunt Jerry. She taught me. I would go stay at her house in the summer for a week at a time, and she took me to a yarn shop and we picked out a pattern and we picked out yarn, and I made my first sweater, and it was the most hideous thing ever. It was mauve. It was gigantic. Once it was blocked, the arms, I mean, they hung down to here and they were so poofy. I think I wore it one time just to say I wore it, but it was pretty hideous. But I was really proud of myself. I made my first sweater. But I really, since I was 18 maybe, I haven't really knit since then. And since my sister Emily knits constantly and I see all of these gorgeous things she's making, I finally decided to be brave and start again. What's funny is I actually taught her how to knit. The very basic, just how to cast on and how to knit, how to purl, knit, stitch, and purl stitch. And I think I taught her one binding off technique. That's about it. And then she took off like crazy, and now she's teaching me how to knit. So I'm gonna have to find a picture so I can show you because I just gave it away. But this most adorable little bunny from the pattern is from Little Cotton Rabbits. Here, I'm gonna get the pattern so I can show you. But I didn't make it exactly the same. I made it a little different. So this is the pattern from Little Cotton Rabbits. And he is the cutest bunny. But I didn't want to make his body in two colors. I wanted it all one color. And it called for a finer yarn than I used. I actually used this really pretty alpaca. It's 75% alpaca and I think 25% nylon, I believe. I do have the label somewhere, but I don't want to pull it out. So it is so soft, but I wanted to make sure that you didn't see the stuffing between all the stitches once you stuff it. So anyways, I made that for a friend, and he just had a little sweater. I didn't make him pants because, I mean, really, bunnies with pants. No bunnies wear pants. They wear sweaters, but... So I decided I would make another one, but I want to make a girl, so I'm going to make her a little dress. I haven't decided what I want the dress to look like yet, but so I've got another one started here. And I've got the head that needs to be stuffed and put the ears on it, and I've got the little body and one arm. I'm waiting to make the legs. I'm not sure if I have enough yarn to make the arms and the legs, so if I don't have enough for the legs, then the legs will be a second color like the pattern shows, but we'll see. We'll see what I do there. Anyway, so that's been fun knitting, and I'm really excited to knit a little tiny doll sweater because I sew dolls all the time out of this. So I've been trying new things, and my daughters want to try dyeing yarn as well. So I told them they could use the leftover Kool-Aid dye that I have because I didn't bring it down. Well, I just got in the mail today my acid dyes that I'm really excited about. I'm not sure how to say it, Jacquard. I got 6 colors of that and some citric acid, and so I've been holding on to some skeins to experiment with because I really want to try some speckling, and I have several different techniques I really am looking forward to trying. Okay, I had to check to see if it was still working. Okay, one more that I thought I'd show that I am working on. I just always have scrap fabrics from millions of projects, and I decided to try, instead of doing English paper piecing, hexies, because they're beautiful but they take an eternity and they kill my hands. I've got arthritis and carpal tunnel, and I have to limit what I do with my hands, and playing the piano, and I cut hair, and I do cake decorating and knitting and sewing and graphic design on the computer. I have to really limit how much I do with my hands, so I'm not about to do some paper piecing. So I have this template that I bought on the grid 3.5-inch hexagon, and I like it because it has some little grooves cut out so I can mark seam allowances, because I'm going to try and do these all on the sewing machine. I think I'm going to make myself a project bag with this. I don't know, there's quite a few hexes, we'll see. It may have way too many, and I'd hate to waste any because cutting these all out is a pain. So we'll see. Maybe it'll make 2. But I love the hexes just because, I don't know, they're fun. But my name means bee, and so anything bees and beehive related I love. So of course this shape is one of my favorites for that reason. Oh, I have to pull out one thing. My girls, they see me being creative all the time, and they want to be creative. And when so they really like to watch, I think it's called My Froggy stuff online. There's this YouTube channel where this woman makes all sorts of doll things, and especially for Barbies. And my girls love making miniatures. So my middle child saw a tutorial for making overalls. I'm trying to fold it up because she hasn't finished it yet, but she is making the most adorable little overalls for the Barbies by hand. I love them, they are so cute. But what I love on here is she did some of the stitching on the machine, but because she didn't feel confident enough with doing some detail like curves on the machine that were so tiny, she decided she was going to do it by hand. So some of these stitches she did a back stitch by hand, all of these little itty bitty ones. I'm going to see if I can focus it, and I have no idea if it will focus because I can't see what it looks like. But it's, oh, you have to see these back pockets. Let's see if it focuses or not. I don't know. But my girls are so creative. I love it. Makes me happy. Okay, so, oh, I was telling you about the things that I'm working on, but I also showed you some of the things that I finished. But there's one that I wanted to show you that I finished. I talked about it, my Waldorf dolls. Oh, so I want to show you my first and second one. They're over here. All right, so this right here is Opal. She's a 16-inch doll, and she was my very first doll, and amazingly she turned out beautiful. I am so happy with how she turned out. I've seen a lot of tutorials online. I mean, I watched them for a year. I watched so many so that I could learn how to do it. But so many of them I saw, they were starting out really, actually they start out really creepy looking because of the way you wrap the head and tie it, and that it actually starts out creepy looking. But by the time they got the body done, it looked really cute. And then the hair went on, and the clothes, it just looked awful. So I was afraid that I was going to destroy her once I put her hair on. But her hair turned out so beautiful. These are Lincoln locks that I ordered on Etsy from Nuffies, if that's how you say it. It's Knuffies on Etsy, and I love them. The problem is that this type of wool, these locks of hair, felt so easily just sewing them on that these are definitely not meant to be played with. This doll is meant to be enjoyed on a shelf. But I know that many people that buy these collect them for that purpose, so that's okay. But I love her with her crown, and I knit this sweater. I knit this last year, and it was one of the first projects I did when I started knitting again. And she has all of these adorable layers. She has, oh, of course, it's always adorable when you see the bloomers. The bloomers are the cutest. Well, the undies, I guess would say. So she's got a dress. Well, this is her skirt with a lace overlay. And then she has a yellow dress that's sleeveless, and then another overdress that's sleeveless, and her little sweater that's just short sleeved. And then her shoes are so cute with the flowers. They're like Mary Jane's. These were an experiment. I made a couple of pair, but trying to get the right size for her feet was a nightmare. And so once I started making these shoes, I thought, well, I don't want to use all of my fabrics I had planned for her just in case I ruined them, and I didn't have very much left. So I made this pair with some other scraps, and they turned out so cute, and I liked it with this dress so much that I just kept it instead of making another pair with the fabric I had planned. So there's Opal. She's really pretty, and that was so much fun, but I wanted to try making a little tiny doll, so I made this one. Her name's Adelaide, and her hair is fun because it can be styled and played with. This is 100% merino. Well, I have it tied up in these little messy buns right now with little bows that are fun, but she has like a little braided headband on there, and her dress was really fun to make. I really liked that, but her shoes, oh, moving her, I messed it up. Her shoes are the most adorable. Her feet are like, I'm trying to remember, 1.5, 2 inches long. So she has these teeny tiny crocheted shoes, and I didn't see any patterns for this size of shoe. So I just started crocheting and prayed it would turn out into a nice shoe, and it did. And then I thought, well, now I have to replicate it. But it worked. Well, I had to undo one and start again, but it worked. Now, the best part of these, of course, she has her little panties that are so cute, but my favorite, well, her little belly button. Opal has a belly button too, but this one's so cute. But I decided she needed a little bum. I just have to stop and say, it's a little odd that I'm just speaking to an empty room here. Every once in a while that strikes me as really unusual. So hopefully somebody's listening so it doesn't seem so empty. Anyways, so I liked this dress because it just has an underskirt here, but it's a high-low dress, so the front is quite short and then the back is longer. So you can kind of get a little peekaboo of the underskirt in the front here. And she was really fun to make. Oh, and I made her, she needed little ears. I didn't put ears on Opal, but her name's Adelaide, and she was really enjoyable to make, so I can't wait to make some more. So let's see, on to snippets from my past. Now I've told this, I don't know, I think I put this on the blog. Where did I put this? On my Etsy shop, my Facebook page. On one of my Facebook pages I put this story on there, but I thought that with this being my first podcast and talking about anything crafty, that I should include this story here. So I learned to sew watching my mother. She sewed all the time. She did it not because she enjoyed it, but because she needed to. She had 6 children that all needed school clothes, and at that time it was far less expensive to make your own clothes than to buy them. Not like it is now, but she made so many of our clothes so that we would have some to wear. But she kind of did the bare minimum because she didn't like doing it. And my father, he's born with several different disorders, but a bone degenerative disorder, and he called it, I think it was achondroplasia type 2 or B. Sorry, Dad, I forgot. But one side of his body is shorter than the other. One leg is shorter, one arm is shorter, and because of that, all of his clothes have to be altered. And my mother learned how to take the plackets off of the sleeve and to shorten it and readjust that and sew it back on. And she's done that forever. She doesn't like doing it, but she does it because she loves all of us. So I watched her sewing. And one year, she really wanted to give my father a new wedding band. And she had a lot of skills, but she didn't work outside of the home, and she needed a way to earn an income. So she decided to make some dolls. And my aunt, her sister, my Aunt Susan, she had recently made some dolls and had this doll pattern, and my mom really liked it. And so she thought, well, I can make dolls and sell dolls. Now this is back before Etsy and eBay, back before the internet, the only way to sell them was personally, word of mouth. And so, amazingly, she sold a ton of these. I mean, she sold them for something like $20 for a doll, and I don't know how many hundreds or whatever she needed of dollars to buy this band, but she sold enough dolls to purchase all the supplies to make them all and to buy the wedding band. But I sat there watching her. I was mesmerized by the intricate outfits she would make, and watching her turn the little tiny arms, right side out and sewing them together. It was mesmerizing. And so I watched her for hours, and finally, after, I don't know, weeks of begging and pleading, she finally let me turn one of the arms right side out. And I did okay, apparently, because then she let me turn the rest. And after that, I realized I don't really like turning the arms or the legs. They're so tiny that they're annoying. But to do the hair, I have the pattern here. I'm going to show you. The name of this doll pattern is called Sing Sweet Songs. And they are 11-inch dolls. I'm going to try once again and hope that this focuses. No idea if it will. Anyways, Sing Sweet Songs. It had one doll pattern and then all sorts of variations on how to do the hair and all these different clothes, and it had little overalls and it had bloomers and it had a pinafore, and anyways, they were just so much fun. And she would give them, different characters. Some would have a little basket with a little bunny in it, and some would have a straw hat, and they'd have overalls that'd be like a little farmer girl, and sometimes they'd have, I remember her making these little tiny balls of yarn that would go in a basket and little knitting needles. But she found all these little miniature things she would make, some little accessories to go with them. So they weren't just the doll, they were just adorable. So I watched her doing the hair, and I remember thinking, these would be really cute with curly hair, but the yarn, that's what she used. She used yarn to make them. It was all straight. And when I was young, I remember learning how to heat set ribbon. So we would wrap ribbon around wooden dowels and bake them, and then they would be curly, and then we would make them into these poofy, obnoxious hair clips for our hair for Easter. They were cute then, but I thought, I bet we could try that with the yarn. And so my mom let me use some of the yarn, and I wrapped it around dowels and baked it and let it cool and took it off, and they made the bounciest curls. You have to bake it at a low temperature for not very long or you burn it. And I learned you can't rest it on a baking sheet because the bottom will melt a little bit. We were using all acrylic, like Red Heart yarn. So I cut dowels to the length so that it would rest on the rims of the baking sheet so they would balance. And anyways, I spent forever. That's where the carpal tunnel began, I swear, because turning those dowels forever to wind that yarn into hair was painful. But that became my job, was to wind the yarn. And then I think I said it was my dad, but actually I think it was my brother. He saw me doing that and one day said, well, I think you could use the drill for that, and just to put the wooden dowel in the drill. And I did, and just zip, it was so fast and easy. So I just would make piles and piles and piles of curly hair. Anyways, that's how I learned to sew, was just watching my mother, and it was so much fun. The only problem was I could never make my own things because there was just not enough. There was never an excess of supplies to go around. With 6 kids and my mother a stay-at-home mom, there was not an excess of anything. So I remember when I was little vowing that when I grew up, I was going to make sure I always had enough supplies on hand that I could make a doll anytime I wanted to. And I made sure to do that above and beyond all reasonable expectations. So I have enough supplies to make all sorts of dolls at any given moment. And that makes my girls happy. They like to make dolls and things like that. So, on to some random musings. I thought I'd share some books that I'm reading right now. Okay. Oh, I'm dropping it all. Okay. I picked a few because I don't have attention deficit disorder, but I really get tired of reading the same book all the time. I like to read a book depending on my mood. So if I'm in a serious mood, I'm going to read a more serious book. And if I'm in a lighthearted mood, I want to read something that is more like what I'd call popcorn or an easy read. And I always like to read something that's, helps me improve myself or whatever it may be. So I thought I'd go down the list of some of the books that I'm reading right now. So right now I'm reading Monique and the Mango Rains. And this one I'm reading for a round robin book group. And I'm almost done with it, and I'm really excited because I read it as fast as I could. I hate to read books super fast because I like to savor and enjoy them, but I wanted to finish it so I could pass it on to the next woman. This is really fun because you take it and mail it to somebody who can be across the country, and they'll read my notes in here, and I have some questions that I write, and they'll answer those, and then they'll include that in the book and pass it on to the next person, and eventually it comes back to me. Well, this one will because I purchased this one and I'm the first reader. But whoever is the first reader does that, and it's really fun. I've liked this book. I'm really always fascinated with anything to do with midwifery. I had my midwife for my first child that I delivered in a hospital, but C-section because my midwife actually was out of town and my daughter was breech. And anyways, long story short, she was in a hospital, but my next two girls I had home births with different midwife, and just such wonderful experiences that I'm really fascinated to read about that. And I also love to learn about other cultures and things. So this is a good one. I've liked it so far. It's also about women in Africa, and sometimes that can be really heart-wrenching. And I feel like this one was written where I can understand them without having my heart ripped out of my chest every time. So I appreciate that. All right, this one, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. This is a book that I almost never picked up because I hate to follow trends all the time. And everybody was reading it. And I thought, I already know how to keep my house clean. I keep it pretty clean. But then I read a review on Goodreads, and I didn't stop to look up who it was because I forgot to. But if you go to Goodreads and look at reviews, I doubt you can miss it. It is the best review ever. It is so hilarious that is the reason I picked this book up. And finally, I went and bought it. It was so hilarious. I thought this must be a comedy, because it was so funny to read that I have to know what she's talking about. So I'm reading it, and I'm thinking it's pretty good, but it actually has a lot of principles that I already do about choosing to surround yourself with the things that you love most as opposed to just filling your life with stuff. Now I do have an abundance of stuff, and I'm always trying to get rid of more things or try not to accumulate so many, but there's definitely some good things from this book. So, next book, I just began it. This is Math and Magic in Wonderland by Lilac Moore. And this was actually a book that was given to me so that I could read it and review it. And so I need to get going on this one more. But I was really excited about this because I'm mentoring a math class for a love of learning age for children. So a group of kids that are 9 to 11 years old. And I really want to find a way to connect more with some math principles that connect us to God and to help you just see the world in the language of numbers and of God. And because growing up, I hated math and I was afraid of it, and I'm still quite a bit afraid of it, but I'm trying to overcome that. And homeschooling your children, you kind of have to get over some of those things. So I'm excited about this one. I started it recently, and already it seems quite promising. Another one is The Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. This was recommended to me several times by different people, and I kind of avoided reading it because I've had some quite not good experiences with energy work, and it's taken me many years to overcome that and to now be able to look into anything having to do with it. But as I've been reading, I'm just constantly praying, please help me to find truth in this and to recognize when it's truth, and so that I can utilize all of the things that God's prepared for us and has available to us. And I'm really excited about it. I agree with the principles of this, but the application of it I'm really finding a challenge. So I'm working on that. All right. Right now, for my gospel studies every morning, I am reading The Savior's Final Week. It's actually 3 books in one. It's called Gethsemane, the first book. The second one is Golgotha, and the third is The Garden Tomb. This is by Andrew C. Skinner. And I have loved this. I have to say that I always find challenges in life. Everybody does. And I'm always looking for answers and answers to prayers. And, you know, I get down sometimes about not being the person that I know I can be or want to be. And I will just pray for answers. And I open this up, and 3 times in the past week, the prayer that I had said the day before, looking for answers, the next day I open it up and the answer is right there. And what I like with it is that it's all focused on the scriptures. And so I love that. It's not just one person, their narrative, their idea of it. They're, you know, really delving deep into the scriptures. And so I've really appreciated that. And I'm sure that some of my inspiration that I'll share in the future will come from this book. And the last one I thought I'd share today was Les Miserables. This is the second time I've been reading it. I'm reading it for a scholar course that my sister and I have designed that we are beginning in just a few weeks, and I wanted a refresher course on it. But it is a hefty book, and I have so many things going on that I thought I would listen to it on Audible instead while I'm working, so I can try and get through more reading faster. But I just love holding a book in my hand. I love turning the pages. I love underlining things that mean a lot to me. I love writing in the margins. I know some people are probably having a heart attack, but you know, I buy my books so I can do it. And so listening to it, it's just not the same. So I'm gonna have to go back to finding more time to reading this one how it is meant to be read, I think. I love Audible, but I just think some books are meant to be read this way. So let's see. I think that's it. I was gonna show you, I bought some peaches today. It's peach season and raspberry season, but I didn't bring my box in. I mean, I know you can't taste them where you are, but I love peaches and I love raspberries. I love cherries. Those are my 3 favorite fruits, and I am pretty sure that when God was creating the world and he was looking for some help, he put me on the committee for making these fruits. I look at a peach and it's so beautiful that sometimes I look at it and I cry thinking, you know, God didn't have to create something so gorgeous for me to eat. And he didn't have to create, 70 varieties of peaches, but he did, because he loves us. And he wants us to be happy, and he wants us to have things that a variety, and to have all of these delicious things to taste. So I seriously do. I look at peaches and cherries. Those are the 2. Peaches and cherries. I literally cry when I'm holding them. So I just bought some peaches, and I usually can a lot of them, but I think I'm just going to eat as many as I can fresh this year. I don't know. I don't have a lot of time or strength in my hands right now to can. We'll see if I can get to that. But anyways, I just wanted to introduce myself and hope that maybe we can get to know each other a little bit. You're welcome to subscribe. You could find me on my blog with my sister Emily. It's meanwhileatthecastle.com. 2 T's. Meanwhileatthecastle.com. I'm also on Instagram as raymond.deborah. That's my kind of personal Instagram page where I share things about my family somewhat, bullet journaling, garden stuff. And then also on Indigo Chicken Dolls on Instagram. That's where I share things about the dolls that I make and anything yarn, wool related kind of things. The problem is I have just too many interests and too many hobbies that I keep just starting a new page or a new blog, or I have so many. I have an Etsy shop called Indigo Chicken. I have another Etsy shop, but I'm closing that one down. So anyways, you can find me there. There's some other places. I may put a link in the bottom to some of the others, but I don't know. We'll see. So anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed this and you come back again and we'll talk some more about some other things that I'm doing, and hopefully my sister will join me as well sometimes. So thank you. Have a good week.